So what I'd like to talk about now is the dimensions of the floor and the roof. And in keeping with sacred geometry and our effort towards considering a bee house more of a temple than a honey producing unit or pollinator unit, then we introduce, of course, the Fibonacci scale. I'm going to duck in front of the camera, excuse me. And here we have the Fibonacci scale, as we talked about at the beginning in this end piece. And the floor and the roof are both consistent with what we call the golden mean, which is the 1 to 1.6 ratio that is considered to be a sacred geometry ratio. I actually don't know the depth of that one, but the measurements here are 39 by 24. 24 times 1.6 is 39, and this roof is 30 by 48, and 30 times 1.6 is 48. So we've introduced the golden mean and the Fibonacci scale, bringing in as much as we can to honor great bee. So I'm going to show you the inside now and how it works. Before we do that, I just want to show you how I keep it all secure, which is I'll do later on, but it's very simple. I just put these turnbuckles here. I'll put a screw here and a screw here, and then these turnbuckles can tighten it up so that they open up this big. You attach them and you tighten them up, and then this floor will be pulled towards the hive body will be pulled towards the floor without having to screw it down. This means that actually you could take this off and lift up the whole hive body and sweep the floor if you need to, or if it gets weather damaged, you could replace it without disturbing the honeycomb at all. The lid is equally just attached up here, this way, with one more here. So at each end there's 1, 2, 3 turnbuckles, and that way you take the turnbuckles off, and you can lift this lid, of course, because no big deal, it's a bit heavy, but this is 1/2 inch ply as opposed to 3/4 inch ply. It doesn't need to be so heavy. It's probably better if there's not quite so much weight up here, but if you've got it turnbuckled, then the wind won't be an issue at all. And I'd just like to mention here that it's much better to put your hive in the shade, perhaps under a deciduous tree or near some shade for the middle of the day in the summer, and then because that tree is deciduous it would get more sunshine in the winter. But it's not so kind perhaps to put your hive right out in the sun all the time. The bees naturally would be hiving in a tree, so that would give them a canopy of shelter. And so we're trying to emulate the natural way here. So let's take off this lid, and we'll just put it aside. We'll take off the spaces, which are actually bars that are damaged or cut badly or something, but they're scrap bars. Gives a nice distance for that insulation we were talking about. Here's the maple roof, which I have not yet covered the edges in copper, but I certainly could, and I probably will. You just peel that off and stick it on. And of course when you lift this lid there should be no bees here, so no problem. There's no bees in this hive, so that was I didn't mean to be deceptive, but there's no bees in here. But when you do lift this hive up, there should be no bees here. And what I've done since you were last looking is I've filled the hive with bars. I'm just going to tilt this since it's not turnbuckled down. I can tilt it to show you how it sits. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bars. Then I've got in here a divider, or as some people call it, a following board. Then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more bars. So this gives 18 bars with a divider. The divider is offered at the beginning when you put your package of bees in, or a swarm. You want to put the divider right at the edge of this entrance and give them only this length, this part, this half of the hive. And this entrance faces directly south. If you put it a little bit like this, then we find that the bees will make comb a little bit like this across the bars. If you put the entrance exactly south, the bees tend to build their comb north-south, given a quiet environment, which means one that's further away from cell towers and electric poles where they have those big transformers and things up there that tend to interfere with the sense of magnetism and starlight and things like that. So I've found through many experiments that bees, at least in this kind of hive, like to go north-south. The entrance faces south. So then this extra window for ventilation we put is east, because that's early morning. And in the high summer, they might want to come in and out of here as an extra entrance. Of course, they'll use the windows too. And you can block it up with a cork, as I've said before. Or you can, when you first put a swarm in or a package in, you can offer your BT right here at the entrance, and there's less likelihood of others, wasps or other bees from other hives, getting into a fight over that. I used to cut out a whole entrance here and insert the Boardman feeder further into the hive, but you only really need it when the bees first come in. So I thought to reduce this and make it less of a problem for them to guard and more of just a little window, and they could get to the food anyway. This is the shape of the bar. Very simple. It's a little tricky to cut, but it's as simple and it's strong. It cuts like this. What I've done is taken a regular 2x4, no, 2x2, right? Regular 2x2. I put my table saw at a 30-degree angle, and I've run it through one side, turned it around, and I've run it through the other side. And I've cut the ends on my chop saw at 30 degrees. And the measurement is 21. I just sit right like that. This is a little bit easier than completely inserting them down into the hive, which I used to do, because then you've got a little bit more of a grip to pick them up with once you've opened up the propolis, that they will stick it down with themselves once they get settled in. I was looking for my hive tool, but I can't see it here. So you open it up with your hive tool and you break the propolis and you can lift it up. Now what I've done here is I have added in a couple of dowlings. This dowling at the end is just a spacer. It's 5/16 of an inch dowling. The reason I've done this is two reasons actually. One is because if I do this, I give myself a little bit of wiggle room. I can move this bar over. I can lift this one up without the comb brushing up against each other or causing any damage. It gives me that little wiggle room. I'm only going to do it at the end because it really kind of confuses them to have this rather flimsy piece here. But it's a bee space, so they won't build on it and they won't get too upset by it. And you can just pop it right back in there. Now down here, next to the divider, the following board, I've put another piece of doweling either side of this following board, like this. And that's just, again, for me to have wiggle room. It's a convenience for the beekeeper. Also, what you'll find is sometimes when you put bars back in, they kind of fit a little differently sometimes. So you've got the chance to take out something or add if you need to. If you were putting in a package, you would hang your queen from about the third or fourth bar. Just tie the string to the cage. Keep her up here, not too far down there swinging away like that. Just keep her up here, upside down, so that you take out the cork, let them get at the sugar plug, hang her in there, and then you basically take these bars out, keeping this end all closed up actually. Keep all this closed up so they can't get in there and they can't get past the following board. So this is not available to them. You've got the end plugged. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the hive to begin with. Now the reason for this, less than the hole, is because not only do they like to go north-south, but they like to find the longest trajectory. And this is longer than that. So they'll go, oh, obviously we'll go this way. We can put more comb. And these bars are so strong and so solid, they don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to fall apart. And we've had no trouble with bees producing comb, lifting up, lifting up, lifting up, as long as we've kept it really oriented north-south. And I have noticed that they do need to be a little bit far away, if possible, from cell towers. They seem to get a little bit wiggly around those. So when you offer the hive for a package, of course you'll take all, or most of these out. You'll put your queen in, hanging down, and you'll just pour your bees into this empty cavity here. This is all empty, of course, and it corresponds to that spiral. It's all varnished with propolis, nice and clean. And if you wish to, you can rub a little bit of lemon balm. They love the scent of lemon balm. You could just lightly brush a little lemon balm in the hive. It would make them very, very happy. It makes them settle in really nice and easy. You could also rub lemon balm on your own skin when you approach a hive, and they will find you very friendly. Be careful not to eat bananas before you go to the hive, or to have chemical products in your hair, things like that. Be considerate. And you won't actually need to wear any protective clothing if you do that, but you want to wear a hat because they don't like getting tangled up in your hair. They're very curious. If you have a concern about ants, I've found it very useful at this point to lay over a little bit of silk. Ants can't get through too much silk. If you want to do this, you could do this. That's fine. It's just a little added extra. Not necessary all the time.